After years of feeling invisible in my marriage, I made a new friend at work. He actually listened, made me laugh, remembered my favorite coffee order. One night, after another silent dinner with my husband, I got a text, "You don't have to be lonely." I met him for a walk, just a walk. But when my husband called, I ignored it. For the first time in years, I felt wanted. But then my husband found out. And his reaction left me speechless. This is going to be long. I'm not proud of everything in here, but I need to get it out. I'm a 45-year-old woman. Married 17 years. No kids. Just me and my husband, let's call him Greg. We live in Portland, Oregon. Middle-class life. Decent house. Quiet neighborhood. On the outside, things looked fine. But inside the house, and inside me, things were breaking apart. Greg is not a bad man. He's smart. Has a stable job in software engineering. Doesn't drink. Doesn't cheat. He comes home every night. Pays bills. Folds laundry. Fixes broken stuff without me having to ask. But over time, it started to feel like I was living with a coworker instead of a partner. It started with small things. He stopped greeting me when I came home. Then he stopped asking about my day. Stopped hugging me unless I initiated it. Then even if I did, it felt like hugging a tree trunk. No warmth. No response. No heartbeat. We didn't fight. That's the worst part. We just stopped talking. And silence slowly took over everything. Every dinner was quiet. He'd eat while scrolling through his phone. I'd try to talk, but he'd give one-word answers. I felt like a ghost sitting across from him. Still setting the table. Still asking if he wanted more rice. Still pretending like we were still a couple. But it was like shouting into a void. Sex was rare. And said he didn't think anything was wrong. I asked him if he was still happy. He said he was content. I don't know what that meant. I guess I wasn't. Then came Aaron. Aaron works in IT at my office. He's 38. Never married. Has this laid-back vibe. Makes everyone laugh in meetings, even the CEO. He's not the type you instantly fall for, but he's the kind you want to keep talking to. He noticed me. Not in a creepy way. Just small things. He remembered my name. My favorite coffee, half CAF vanilla oat latte. He'd pop by my desk and make stupid jokes just to see me laugh. At first, I thought he was just being nice. But then I realized something, I was looking forward to seeing him every day. I started dressing a little nicer for work. Just subtle changes. A different lipstick. A top I hadn't worn in years. I told myself it was nothing. Just office friendship. But deep down, I knew what I was doing. He made me laugh. He asked about my dog, remembered her name. Asked about my mom who had surgery months ago. Greg had forgotten about that. Aaron didn't. Then came the text. It was a Thursday night. Greg and I had just eaten dinner. Pasta and silence. He was on his phone again. I cleared the plates. Washed the dishes. I went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at nothing. My phone buzzed. It was Aaron. You don't have to be lonely. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. No emojis. No context. Just that sentence. I felt like someone punched me in the chest. Not because it was romantic or anything. But because it was true. I wrote back, "Want to go for a walk?" I don't know why I said that. Maybe I was looking for trouble. Or maybe I just needed someone to look me in the eye and remind me I was still alive. Then my phone buzzed. Greg. I looked at his name lighting up my screen. I didn't answer. I just turned my phone over and put it on the bench beside me. Aaron didn't say a word. He just looked at me like he understood. We didn't kiss. We didn't even touch. But in that moment, I knew the line had been crossed. And I didn't care. From there, things escalated. We started getting lunch together more often. Then it was drinks after work. Then one night, he kissed me outside a bar on Hawthorne Boulevard. I didn't stop him. I kissed him back. We started meeting at his apartment sometimes. It wasn't wild or scandalous. It was quiet. Soft. I cried the first time. Not because I felt guilty, but because it felt like someone actually wanted me. At home, Greg didn't notice the changes. Or maybe he did and just didn't ask. I started staying late at work. Took longer walks alone. He never questioned me. Until he did. It was a Saturday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee. Greg picked up my phone from the counter. I forgot to mute it. A message popped up. I had a dream about you last night. Still can't get that hoodie off my mind. Aaron. Greg froze. Read it. Stared at it for a long time. I turned around and saw him standing there, holding my phone like it was on fire. He didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. He just looked at me and said, "So. That's what this is." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. He sat down at the table and put the phone in front of him. "How long?" His voice was calm. Too calm. That made it worse. I told him the truth. Not everything, but enough. I said I didn't plan it. I didn't go looking for it. But I felt invisible. I felt like I had been screaming for years and no one heard me. I told him I'd been lonely in this house, in this marriage, and I didn't know how else to survive. He didn't respond. Just stared at the wall. After a long silence, he said, "I knew you were unhappy. I just thought if I stayed out of your way, it'd be better for you." That hit me harder than if he'd screamed at me. Because that was the problem. We both stopped trying. We both disappeared. I just happened to find someone who noticed I was gone. Now everything is sitting in this quiet limbo. We haven't talked since that morning. He's sleeping in the guest room. I'm barely sleeping at all. Aaron keeps asking if I'm okay. I don't even know what to tell him. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what I want. I'm not proud. I'm not even sure I regret it. I just know I finally felt seen. And now everything's falling apart. If you've been here, what do you do when your marriage dies quietly and you're the only one who notices? Want me to keep going and write the rest of the story? Absolutely. Here's the continuation, deeper, messier, and more dramatic. Still in that raw Reddit tone, with simple, straightforward words. No ending yet. It's been almost 3 weeks since Greg found that message. He hasn't said much since. Just short, clipped sentences. No eye contact. No fights either, which honestly feels worse. He's still in the house, still eating meals I cook out of habit, still watching TV in the living room while I sit in the kitchen pretending to scroll through recipes I'll never make. Aaron's still around too. But now he's asking questions I'm not ready to answer. Have you told him you're leaving? Do you still want this with me? I don't know. I really don't. All I know is that I feel like I'm stuck between two lives. One where I'm the forgotten wife, and one where I'm the cheating woman who ruined everything. Then Greg did something I wasn't expecting. He made dinner. I came home last Friday and there was food on the table. Candles lit. Not fancy ones, just the ones from the junk drawer we never use. He didn't say anything. Just gestured for me to sit. It felt like sitting across from a stranger playing house. We ate in silence at first. Then he said, "I scheduled us a session for us. Couples counseling. Next Wednesday." I almost dropped my fork. "You want to go to therapy? Now?" He looked up at me. His eyes were tired. Not angry. Just heavy. I should have gone a long time ago. I know I shut down. I thought I was being easy, giving you space. I didn't see it was killing us. That moment should have felt like a breakthrough. But it felt like it came too late. I wanted to cry. Not because I was touched, but because suddenly I was being asked to fight for something I'd already let go of. Something I had already buried. I told Aaron about the therapy. He didn't take it well. He ignored you for years, and now that someone else sees your worth, he decides to wake up. You're really going to give him another chance? After everything? I didn't have an answer. Then came the twist I never saw coming. That Sunday, Greg left the house for a few hours. Said he needed to clear his head. I stayed home, wandering from room to room like a ghost. Then I got the call. Aaron. But his voice wasn't the same. It was shaky. Low. Hey, something happened. You need to know. Your husband came to my apartment. My stomach dropped. He what? Yeah. He knocked. Calm. No yelling. Just looked me in the eyes and said, "Thank you. For reminding her she still deserves to be seen. But don't get comfortable. She's not yours yet." And then he left. A few days later, I started noticing weird little things. One night, my laptop browser history was wiped. Then I saw the location sharing turned off on my phone. Greg had been the one who set up the family plan years ago. I didn't even remember my iCloud password. Then I got a call from my boss. "Hey, just a heads up, there's been some questions from HR about your work phone usage." I don't know who flagged it, but apparently, someone submitted an anonymous tip. Work phone. Aaron had texted that phone a few times. I felt ice in my veins. I never said anything to Greg, but I knew. He was unraveling in his own quiet way. Not yelling. Not fighting. Just watching. Tracking. Lurking in the background while pretending to be the calm, rational husband. It was scarier than if he had exploded. Meanwhile, Aaron started pulling back. He said the whole situation was getting too heavy. That he didn't sign up for this level of drama. That maybe we needed space. So now? Now I'm standing in the wreckage of two men. One who ignored me for years. One who noticed me too late. And I'm not sure either of them knows who I really am. Or maybe I don't either. I'm going to that therapy session with Greg. Not because I believe in us again. But because I need to say things out loud in front of someone who won't let me minimize them. I need to understand how I got here. How I let myself get this small. And part of me wonders if Greg's apology is real, or if it's just another way to win. To control. To remind me he still knows how to get in my head. No ending yet. Just a woman sitting in the middle of a life she doesn't recognize. If you're reading this and you've ever been in a relationship where you disappeared piece by piece, I see you. I'll update again after the session. Unless something explodes first. And honestly, it might. Let me start with the therapy session. Greg and I showed up, sat on opposite ends of the couch like kids being forced to apologize in the principal's office. The therapist, Julia, was warm. Direct. She didn't let either of us hide. Greg went first. Said he'd withdrawn emotionally. Said he thought I wanted space and he thought giving me that was what love looked like. I told the truth too. I said I'd felt invisible for years. That I begged for attention in subtle ways, new clothes, touching his arm, cooking more, until I just gave up. Then I said the hard part, I cheated. Emotionally first. Then physically. And I'm not here to lie about that. Greg didn't flinch. He just nodded. And then he dropped his twist. I didn't just find out from your phone. What do you mean? I've known for months. Turns out he had seen one of Aaron's texts weeks before the one he confronted me about. He said he was going to pretend it was a wrong number. But then he started looking for more. And he found it. Calls. Messages. Little things I'd missed. So yeah. That's how he knew to show up at Aaron's apartment. He'd been watching it unfold. Quietly. Like everything else. The therapist asked him why he didn't say anything. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to fight for her. Or let her go. Let that sink in. He was playing mental chess while I was falling apart, crying in office bathrooms and replaying text messages like they meant something deeper. But the next twist came a few nights later. I was lying in bed when Greg knocked softly on the bedroom door. I hadn't been sleeping there since therapy. We were still keeping distance. But he had this strange look on his face. Can I talk to you? I sat up. I need to tell you something before you hear it from someone else. I held my breath. I've been talking to someone too. I didn't speak. Not like you and Aaron. But I've been having dinner with someone from work. Emily. I know. Classic name. Not her real one, don't worry, I'm not breaking my own rule. He said it started after things got bad between us. He didn't want to cheat, but he needed to talk to someone who asked him how he was. Who laughed at his dry-ass jokes. Who remembered his favorite IPA and brought it to work during Secret Santa. He swore nothing physical happened. I believed him. But it didn't matter. It stung. Not because I was jealous. But because I thought I was the only one bleeding quietly. Turns out, we were both dying in silence. And then came the real twist. 2 days later, I got a message from a number I didn't know. Thought you might want to know your friend has a bit of a pattern. You're not the first. It was a woman. Sent screenshots. Aaron. With her. Same texts. Same coffee orders. Same "you don't have to be lonely" line. I didn't even feel heartbreak. Just embarrassment. Like I'd been in a one-woman play he'd written years ago and handed out scripts for to whoever looked tired enough. I confronted him. He admitted it. Said he liked helping women feel seen. That it wasn't about sex, but about the connection. But clearly, I wasn't the only one he was connecting with. So now here I am. Greg had someone. I had someone. And none of it was what we thought it was. We're still going to therapy. But now it feels like we're not fighting for the marriage anymore. We're just doing an autopsy together. Aaron's gone. Blocked. Deleted. It didn't even feel good. Just necessary. Greg moved back into the master bedroom last night. But not like that. Just to sleep in his own bed. We don't touch. We barely talk unless we're in the therapist's office. I sleep better now, oddly. Like the lie has been drained out of the walls. We're in this weird, quiet war zone. No bullets. Just debris. Next week, we're supposed to talk about what's next. Divorce. Separation. Something in between. I don't know what I want. Maybe to be alone. Maybe to feel clean again. Maybe just to hear my own thoughts without someone else's guilt screaming over them. This isn't over yet. But maybe that's okay. Because for the first time in years, I'm not pretending anymore. This is it. The part one didn't want to write but need to. A lot's happened. And it all broke open last weekend. Therapy had been going on once a week. We were civil. Calm. Too calm. Like two people co-managing the cleanup after a fire they both started but neither one remembers lighting. Greg was trying, I guess. But it felt mechanical. He'd repeat lines the therapist fed us, I hear you. I'm committed to rebuilding. But the look in his eyes was blank. Like a man running through the motions because stopping would mean finally feeling it. And me? I was numb. No Aaron. No excitement. No guilt anymore, either. Just a strange gray quiet inside. That Saturday, our friends invited us to a barbecue. Emily, not her real name, the woman Greg admitted to talking to, would be there with her fiancé. Yes, fiancé. Another detail Greg conveniently left out. I told Greg I didn't want to go. He insisted. If we're going to move forward, we can't keep hiding. Fine. We showed up late. Everyone was already drinking, laughing, music in the background. I felt like I was walking into a movie I didn't remember agreeing to act in. And then I saw her. Emily. She was beautiful, casual. She waved at us like everything was normal. Greg went over and hugged her. Hugged her. Longer than needed. Hand on her back. Whispered something. And then she did something I'll never forget. She turned to me and said, "He's told me so much about you. I hope things are getting better." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. That's when it clicked. This wasn't emotional support. This was something else. I don't know how far it went, but I know women. And I know that look. That line was calculated. I nodded. My throat went dry. I walked back to the drink table and took the first full glass of wine I saw. I was halfway through it when Greg came over. She's just being friendly. I didn't say anything. You said you wanted honesty. I gave you that. I turned to him and said, loud enough for people nearby to pause their conversations, "You've been playing the victim while you had a whole emotional affair with a woman who's engaged. And you brought me here to what? Parade us around like a fixed marriage while she watches?" People started turning. A few awkward laughs. The music felt louder. The air was thin. Greg's face turned red. You cheated first. Don't forget that. And then it happened. At least I didn't lie to someone's face while I was still screwing them behind their husband's back. The whole backyard went dead quiet. Emily's fiancé looked over from across the yard. And just like that, everything exploded. He walked over, asked Greg what he meant. Greg froze. Stammered. Emily tried to laugh it off, but he wasn't stupid. He asked her directly, "Are you sleeping with him?" She didn't answer. He left. Stormed off. She followed. Greg and I stood in silence, surrounded by mutual friends with wide eyes and plastic cups halfway to their mouths. Someone, Rachel, I think, muttered, "Jesus Christ," and went inside. I left. I didn't wait for Greg. I didn't grab anything. I just walked until I found my car and drove. That night, Greg came home and sat on the edge of the bed. No words. We sat in silence for almost 20 minutes. Then he said, "I'm sorry." I didn't answer. He continued. "I should have left you when I knew we were done. Instead, I tried to win. And you don't win people. You just break them more. And for the first time in this whole thing, he cried. Real tears. Not loud. Just quiet sobs from someone who'd been holding back so long, he didn't know how to fall apart anymore. I didn't hold him. I didn't say anything. I just let the moment sit there between us like a funeral neither of us dressed for. The next morning, he packed a bag and left. He said he needed to stay with his brother for a while. We didn't fight about it. No yelling. No, I'll come back. Just a door closing quietly. Since then, we've agreed on a trial separation. No set time. Just space. He offered to keep paying the mortgage for now. Said it was only fair. Aaron texted once. I didn't reply. I don't need to. He was a symptom, not the solution. Emily? Her fiancé posted a photo of her stuff on the lawn with a caption that read, "If she lies to you, she'll lie to everyone." It got shared around. I heard she took some time off work. And me? I'm sitting here in this house that finally feels mine. Too quiet sometimes. Still echoes of a life I thought I had. But also, peace. There's no ending here, really. Not yet. Maybe Greg and I get divorced. Maybe we don't. Maybe I stay alone. Maybe I don't. But here's what I know, I was disappearing in silence. And I made mistakes, yes. But I also woke up. And sometimes waking up is ugly. Sometimes it burns everything down. But at least now, I'm finally awake.